My name is Viktor Mueck. My story didn't begin with achievements, awards, or loud declarations. It began with searching, long, stubborn, and, to be honest, not always pleasant. From an early age, I learned to observe people, their decisions, their fears, their attempts to appear stronger than they really are. That's probably when the need was born in me to dissect life for meaning and look for answers where others don't ask questions. I grew up in a world where many things had to be overcome, not because I dreamed of heroism, but because sometimes there simply was no other choice. I understood early. If you want to move forward, no one will carry you in their arms. That feeling of loneliness and inner resistance became my first teacher. It taught me to observe, analyze, and take nothing on faith. When I got older, I felt the need to speak, not with empty words, but in a way that might make others think about themselves. That's how I started writing. Not for fame, but for honesty. It always seemed to me that text can be stronger than any conversation. It doesn't justify itself, doesn't play, doesn't try to be liked. It's either alive or dead. I wrote several books, philosophical, honest, based on my experiences, observations, and inner work. These books aren't about victories. They're about how a person rises after falling, how one learns to live without pleasing the world, and how one regains the right to be themselves. I never tried to write properly. I tried to write truthfully, and that's what became my author's line. Parallel to writing, something else appeared in my life, creating candles. For some, it's a hobby. For me, it's another form of conversation with the world. Candles are about warmth, about an intimate space, about a small island of light that a person lights with their own hands. Every candle passes through my hands. I choose the wax, the scents, the bases, the colors, as carefully as I choose words in a book. These are small things, but each one carries the energy of its creator. I like thinking that somewhere in someone's home, a light I made is burning. Over time, my work became part of my philosophy. I realized that I don't just write books or make candles. I create a space where a person can pause, reflect, and hear themselves. The world has become fast, hectic, noisy. People lost. And if my word or a small warm flame can bring someone back to themselves, then none of this is in vain. I have always been a person who walks their own path. It doesn't sound romantic. In reality, this path is often difficult, sharp at times, and far from comfortable. But I never saw any meaning in living otherwise. I feel responsible for my thoughts, my ideas, and the message I send to people. When you become an author, whether you want it or not, you become a mirror. And it takes courage to reflect not an ideal image, but reality. My life is constant movement. I learn, make mistakes, rise again, search for new forms of expression. I moved to Germany, started a business, created my brand, expanded my creative space. And every new step is a challenge that forces me to become deeper, stricter with myself, and more honest with the world. Today I continue writing books, creating candles, working on new content, building my business and my philosophy. I don't claim to be a teacher. I simply share what I've understood on my own path. And I understood the main thing. A person becomes themselves only when they stop waiting for the world to give them permission to live. My biography is not a story about how everything went smoothly. Quite the opposite. It is a story of how strength is born, from doubt, from pain, from honesty with oneself, from the willingness to move forward even when the road is dark. I believe in choice. I believe in freedom. I believe in personal responsibility. And I